Scott, are you ready?
Yep.
Will you call clear, John?
I'll say it once.
Awesome. All I need. The negative must defend the status quo juvenile system as a whole. First, predictable limits the status quo juvenile system is always predictable with the topics that are named down. Possible systems or aspects of negative use from this always other abuse claims with cause structural substance abuse force to be prepared about possible positions like the negative defendants all possible to defend the disadvantage predictable is always also back A. Salty evidence and salty abuse because A by the infant of right guard and B salty evidence doesn't provide predictability to any correct person can have B. Secondly, textuality. The only textual interpretation is the resolution used in the in the United States, meaning the resolution question system that exists in the United States now. Any other interpretation isn't textual because other systems we use throughout the United States. Every state the status quo is always other abuse because the text resolution is the only thing we have coming around. Violence, there's always multiple valid interpretations of the resolution. For the affirmative interpretation, as long as it be reasonable and negative responses compensate for negative times Q. All its moral obligation, the values of morality. Standard, the criteria to combating racism divides the rejection of the approach of hatred or intolerance of certain groups based on solely upon their race. First, racism requires separation between domination and dominated. They would be seen as fundamentally different in order to be seen in superior to someone else. Otherwise, they would be able to recognize and embrace the other, and not be able to assert themselves on a higher level than them. This concern comes from ethical analysis without human connection. We come lost. We must check its alienation, maintaining our ontological meaning and identity. Cable, right? We are constituted social beings who desire, need to recognize that the life and power of life can be ways, need to animate baby search, eye contact with the mother as well as the effects of former groups or violence, work situation, desire to connect through, convert your junior reciprocity gives action to distinct social energy pulling towards the other. Without these human connections, we become lost, able to continue. First, the place of the environment, characterized by the experiential common between desire for connection, the desire to get individuals to desire to be an object, the very spirit to service the ontological link between self and the others constitutes the real social system. Second, the goal of anonymity characters with alienated role performance present in the constitute of the individual's legal identity. He or she exists no but a rights being existence exists no in particular in relation to individuals for the same time the characterization of a rights being existence to the intended effect of erasing the reality and replacing with blank disembodied but solely composite empty vessels that only so they've been filled with rights. Empty vessels, the rights being existence, they have the absence of quality of alienated role performance. Acts of racism and tailored oppressed groups be less worth through fewer rights and dominating group moral status be unequal treatment is possible. The alienation of the group based on the race to understand how to live between others, rendering the existence meaningless. Second, this disconnection between people and forced by racism stuff, the state of human nature, and thus prevents construction of all normal claims. Benjamin, right? Men is formed by the interlandings, the alienated acts, people that not exist and mean something very different. Other people is already evolved, makes me medium, something good, very meaningfully possible. I'm only good, act based on self-centeredness, natural self-centeredness, this condition make a man undeniable and destructible in moral theory because they constitute the subject of theory, destroy the source of normativity, the subject of morality of human beings to annihilate morality itself from the world. Morality is based on the relationship between others. It is impossible to have the right moral obligations without receiving the person's obligation to. Racism denies our relationship with the entire form of individuals and denying our ability to formulate moral obligations toward and thereby erasing their own sense of morality and lives as well. Third, different groups of different moral systems. If we do not permit the domination we allow for some groups to have moral groups be overridden because by definition dominating groups be forced to serve to their new masters as dominators, the imposition of moral arbitrariness others. This contradicts the very domination of morality, because morality is constructed different moral norms by undermining the moral views of others. We destroy all moral claims of morality, morality itself from the world. The fundamental fabric of morality is torn through the domination of the system we are preventing individuals to our own moral obligations. Fourth, by constituting the racist practice, we engage in ontological damnation, morality, and politics collapse due to the uneven power structure that hold. Still, Cyril and Meyer explains the fundamental barrier to the interracial relation. Racial law subjects lack the ontological resistance to the eyes of the white man. Black subjects are not seen but not human. The LGBT nothing. Others renders politics impossible. Same applies for others. Damnation means that black lives live in irrelevance to innocence. The absence of self. Other dialect of the racial situation is the eradication of ethical relations where ethics derailed all is forbidden. For equality, be contemplated the obligations to resist all attraction for racial law subject must seize the ontology being itself from the black slave is granted or freedom by the former slaveholder to decide to promote the machine animal into the ranks of men. Its fuel man needs to remain blocked. The former slave needs to challenge humanity, right? Lack of reciprocity leads slave to turn towards the master to abandon the object, but the form of mutual recognition remains unrequited. The master who desires only slave work for racial law subject self-consciousness human requires symbolic violence and search for reciprocity. Only then will the slave be freed. Any NC standard that is not inherently cognizant of the plight of racialized other rights into Mayer's argument. The voice of slaves constantly silenced disappears between shipped bodies and news as well as pseudo-philosophizing of deontologists for their perfect whitewash roles and the consequences to sacrifice minorities for the sake of the white. It's not a link of omission, it's a link of commission. Therefore, the affirmative burdens to demonstrate the treatment of juveniles, the juvenile justice system increased racism. Because racism regularly violates morality standards sufficient to demonstrate we are morally obligated for punishing juveniles within juvenile courts. My first condition is that the status quo waiver process is inherently racist. Roberts, right? Blacks also lead them into state custody because they are more likely to be tried as adults. Every state in the act of legislation, those being transferred from violent juvenile offenders, criminal courts for prosecution for adults, the procedure of juvenile offenders, more harshly being escalation for transfer for the last decade. The most common means of transferring juvenile courts to the criminal courts, juvenile transfer, waiver jurisdiction, the judges make waiver decisions. They are choosing between the punishment of the adult court and the rehabilitating the juvenile court. The statute simply give the judges broad discretion to child and ability treatment to public safety. They are unlimited discretion afforded to juvenile court judges and subject to the waiver criteria, rampant discrimination transfer decisions. In the affirmative world, the juveniles are automatically transferred. The adult system, meaning the elimination transfer process leads to distinct net increase of racism. Arguments why the adult system are not unique and the adult system are utilized regardless of the affirmative negation. Further, arguments about racism occur that the adult court system must be specific to violent juveniles or to constitute unique offense to treatment of adult offenders untouched in both worlds. In order to sexually outweigh on the racism, the negative must show the distinct decrease in racism that occurs through the game. Moreover, the racism of the transfer process can be empirically verified. Roberts 2. The College of Justice rated contemplated the impact of racial disparities in each state of the juvenile justice processing period. Why used the authors discovered the greater disparity impact while African Americans were 6.7 times likely to be arrested for violent offenses. Whites were astounding 18.4% more likely than white offenders to be sentenced to adult court to prison. My empirics verified the rampant racism condition that sets the stage for radically motivated sentencing. The empirical examples of racism is an additional reason to affirm the resolution to the racism is occurring in the status quo. We need to take action. The status quo is not being influenced with the racism is occurring. My second contention is that the unmitigated power of the juvenile court allows police officers to uniquely increase racism. Steckler writes. When police choose processing through detention, they hinge on arresting the officer's perception of the youth community and its family. The police officers find more to not support for unsafe environment. Police are more likely to be referred to prosecution once the youth system deficiencies within the low-income, more minority communities become scrutinized effectively, placing blame on youth who have little to no control over their environment. Youth of color allow low-income communities low chance of effectively exercising its rights. Prejudicial intervention or representation of youth is likely to occur. Youth are particularly more susceptible to police bias and power imbalance is likely with adults. Furthermore, youth rarely empowered to request their police officer and more aware of their rights in relation to stop or inquiry. Thus, this racism is unique to the juvenile court to distinct ways. First, the juvenile justice system provides the police officer with the unchecked jurisdiction over the juvenile detention procedure is once ultimately able to find the juvenile's fate. Second, the juveniles are more likely to be allowed the juvenile detention officer to overstep their roles to law enforcement due to the massively increased power imbalance. If all juveniles are treated in the adult court, the imbalance will be neglected as there will be no power imbalance as all felons will be punished equally. That's confirmed.
Cool. Pass me the AC.
Yeah, let me
mark anything you
yeah.
didn't. Please. Did you read everything?
I mean, I marked in orange and stuff. I didn't read those too.
Okay, great. Everyone right? Your framework establishes that racism is bad. If I show disadvantages to the affirmative about how you will cause some other form of oppression or domination to a different group, for example, women, not a race, does that still link into the AC standard?
The Cicerella-Meyer evidence is actually really good on this point, that if we don't look specifically to racism, ethics and politics is really impossible. So
that doesn't answer my question.
To answer your question, no, those do not link in.
Those do not link in. Okay. Yeah. Point to me specifically in Cicerella-Meyer, however you pronounce that.
Absolutely.
Why she says or he says racism is the most important thing, not just racism is really bad.
I mean, like, that's the whole warrant. Like,
point to me one place.
Like,
point
there,
to me one place.
there.
Wait, slow down. Let's go to the first one.
The whole part, man. Like, it all says
Hamilton, point to the first one. Let's talk about whether it says that. It says racism is really bad. It doesn't say racism is the only bad thing or the worst thing. Point to one spot. Let's talk about that spot.
Okay.
Point to one spot.
Right here. Black subjects are not seen as human. The intelligence of
black subjects are not seen as human. Okay, but that doesn't deny that if you cause the question of women, that women would also not be seen as human.
I know you won the Duke's Bailey Cup, but you can at least let me answer my cross-ex questions.
You're right. I did win the Duke's Bailey Cup.
All right.
That doesn't answer my question.
So
where does it say when you?
If you would let me finish my answer.
Go for it.
Instead of interrupting me.
Hamilton, go for it.
It says otherness renders politics impossible. The same applies for ethics. Damnation is
says politics are impossible because
same applies for ethics. Like, I don't know how that doesn't mean. If politics and ethics are possible, I don't know how that doesn't mean.
You have too much caffeine today. You need to calm down. My question is just, it says politics becomes impossible because we treat African Americans as something that is not human. Why can't we also describe harms to women that treat them as something less than human? Wouldn't that similarly make politics impossible? If not, why
not? My evidence indicates that it's specific.
Where? I'm contesting the specific place you're pointing to.
I'm trying to tell you, and then you keep like saying no. I'm trying to point to you the warrants. If you would like, let me answer the question.
Explain the warrant.
Okay, I will. The history of the specific relationship between between race comes before all other things because of
which piece of evidence establishes the history of race, where that came from, why racism exists.
It's not like. It's not the history of race, it's the history of race relations in terms of how race
which evidence indicates stuff about race relations then?
This one.
The same one.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. What's his explanation for the history of race relations? How did these come about?
It's not the history of race relations. It's the fact that in the past, as Cicerella-Meyer, who's quoting Fanon, states, the black body has been made seem less than the white body specifically. Under this system, it renders...
Sure. We can compare who's most consistent with alleviating this racism, right? The old system or the juvenile system?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any a prioris or things that... Okay.
No, I appreciate it.
Cool. So why does the affirmative system solve for these harms of racism?
My argument is that the automatic transfer that happens when we affirm solves for racism. That's like
Okay, that's the only argument in the AC, or are there?
I mean, like each individual argument explains how I solve.
Right. My question is, what are the individual?
Oh,
arguments?
yeah. Sorry. My first argument is that the status quo waiver process is inherently racist. The second argument that the second argument is more empirics on that same question.
Okay, on that question.
Yeah. The second argument, the third argument is that the unmitigated power of the juvenile court allows the police officers to uniquely increase racism.
Okay, can you pass me those pieces of evidence, please? I'll take some. Thanks.
The AC sentences on leaving racial struggles misses the point, focusing on movements of racism and ethnicity and other races to rebel the anti-capitalist movement Herod writes. The social movements based on gender, racial, ethnic identities cannot destroy capitalism. They haven't even tried. They've been trying to get into the system now. Overthrow nothing is about the anti-capitalist circles. So there are these movements that give the capitalists a chance to do a little fine tuning by limiting tension here and there. By clear representatives of these capitalists can live with the board of directors exhibiting diversity as long as all board members are pro-capitalist or no. Denying the evils of racism. Unfortunately, the voices have been lost in the clamor for admittance to the system. Unless we return to class politics and integrate the fight for racial equality in the class struggle, we will continue to flounder. And you're the root cause of your own impacts. Racism did not exist before capital, and you're propping it up only ensures harms will continue. Taylor writes. Racism is an ideology, but an institution. Its origins don't lie about it. It is human nature. Rather, racism originated with capital and slave trade. Prior to the advent of capital, racism denies its Greek and Roman society. No concept of racial oppression. Egyptian, regarding Greek, Roman, and early Christian societies had a favorable image of black and African societies. As historian Williams, where slavery was not born of racism. Racism was a consequence of slavery. In early colonial America, there was surprising inequality between blacks and whites. In 17th century Virginia, blacks were able to file lawsuits testifying in court barons and even own property, including servants of slaves. So, over time, racism became established both as a means of legitimizing slavery, but also as a means of dividing poor people against one another. Under capitalism, today, small wealthy minorities, boys and presses, majority people racism maintained by main division among workers today provides a convenient scapegoat for problems created by the system of capitalism. Creating racism, the way to end racism once for all is society in which the first priority is abolishing all exploitation. And your demands on state policy only re-entrench the problem. We must focus on rejecting the state's means to delegitimize it as a source of power to ever solve racism. Hart writes. This recognition is important in determining protest politics in the U.S. We need to disinvest from making demands toward the state media spectacle of politics is legitimated through the circulation of images and the encouragement of dissent, which supposedly signals a healthy democracy. The imagery of public protest in and of itself doesn't challenge the scheme, can in fact play an integral role in this game of simulation that has replaced representation. And the focus is circling against capitalism. Gatherings can become productive by exchanging circles, getting to know people, projects, and organizations. For example, the effective education by autonomous communities of the opposite have way more of an impact on Mexican nation policy on education than the Zap visa had gone. The national government made demands. The Black Panther Party didn't say we want a national breakfast program that built a breakfast program. Hoover identified this program as the greatest weapon in the hands of Panthers, subsequently stepped in to create a free breakfast. Additionally, it is going to receive a charge to link that he, just as a racism denies the human status of African Americans, that is the only thing we care about when other things like poverty or other things can deny the human status of others as well. This is going to supercharge all the links, even if he says that in general he is trying to alleviate the struggle. This is going to be an even worse link. And beyond the above cases, the impacts of capital way worse. Capitalist social domination over animals and others. Media Mouse writes. Capitalism is a greater relationship to animals. It's the pursuit of profit as animals are used for food, hunting, pest, research, and entertainment. Inflicts extreme cruelty upon animals, places many their human counterparts in danger, destroys the environment factory farm. Does not only slaughter animals, but also force them to live lives of daily torture and dark. Hence, their urine and feces, birds, beasts, or crop cows, tails, or crop animals that often have no fresh air. Hundreds of millions of them are virtually immobilized by the time for entire meat. Animals experience horrific fear and excruciating pain, and this domination paves the way for domination of humans. Every impact you claim to solve by solving this first ever hierarchy best rights. Human domination of animals was the first ever hierarchical domination laid the groundwork for patriarchy, slavery, warfare, genocide, and other systems of violence. About human liberation is impossible if disconnected from animal liberation. Collapses underway. This logical contradiction. These connections exist not only in the realm of ideologies, conceptual laws, and systems of technology, such as the tools and techniques humans devised to rationalize mass confinement, slaughter of animals, were mobilized against human groups for the same, and others recognize the profound similarities between our Nazi history, the human capitalism, and how humanity as a whole treats animals along with men, massacre animals, and will kill each other. Thus, I advocate we reject capitalism, maintain status quo juvenile policies rather than adopt the affirming its pursuit of solving racial dilemmas. This allows us to solve the AC better and garners unique benefits here too. This strategy calls for pulling time, energy, and resources out of capitalist civilization, putting them into building a new civilization. The image is one of emptying out of capitalist structures by draining wealth, power, and meaning out of them until there's nothing left but shells. An inside attack aimed at gutting it while simultaneously replacing it with something very new, non-hierarchical, non-combined relation. You eventually overwhelm the capitalist relation and force them out of existence. This is a plausible, realistic strategy. Such a revolution will happen because we want to. We must always keep in mind that we became slaves. Then we can see how we began and cease being slaves. It is new, prevailing vision, and dominant desire, and overriding even must exist as a person's desire to live a certain way, not to live another. Otherwise, we are doomed to perpetual slavery and extinction and the existence of capitalism in their world and dice their ability to solve it first because the absence is pushing Collins in the prison industrial complex where we value and replicate social control for profit, which is going to mean they're going to end up back in jail anyway because there's a profit instead of additional day. We produce the forms of control beneath the surface where they're more invisible and confessor. Even if there's specific evidence, their evidence doesn't account for the long-term trends that are happening to treat all juveniles in the adult system under their complicity since the app hasn't been implemented. So I'm ahead of specificity and the value of the capital backstory. So they link discursively to propping up capitalism, but never have I linked to discursive harm discourse first. Hill.
Language is a method that has been used to achieve more inclusive world. You can ask if the influence of language conveys the image we develop of ourselves or shapes our relationship with one another. When we speak, our exercise the power of language to transform reality, convert ideas into communication language. These accuracy of ideas are extremely important in controlling behavior of human beings. Policy and judgment will not be passed, and no one will actually get very process because it's going to directly shape inward impacts of ways issues discussed were about the judge's previous obligation to reject that inward discuss further the judge's person before. And Mercer even if it may cost to evaluate argumentation or promote certain communal norms, the judge is personally bound to provide inward discrimination violence. But even if this is argument, the K functions on policy level 2, you can go to the affirmative case, you can group the ethical framework. All these arguments beg the question that racism is real bad because it denies the equality of African Americans or denies the human status, but there's no reason why the arguments about capitalism win as well. Obviously, capitalism is going to outweigh its scope for the reasons that best indicates that it's going to solve the root cause of the racism argument, is going to control the internal link to the race arguments better. Don't let me extend the evidence as racism is the worst thing ever. Make him point to the specific place. It's not there. But also, let's talk about the contention level. First off, Roberts, you can turn this. All Roberts says is that it's bad when we transfer more African Americans to the adult system, but his solution is to transfer everyone to the reason why it's bad to transfer more African Americans to the adult system because the adult system is more punitive and rehabilitative. We aren't trying to help everyone with the AC solution and trying to punish everyone who's going to replicate the harms. The harm is not that it's necessarily racist. The reason that Roberts is indicting this is because you get put into the adult system incorrectly. Additionally, you can turn this argument. His evidence only indicates that. Additionally, you can turn this argument. He's going to lead to an increase in crime, which leads to more rearrest player PBS rights. Juveniles transferred to the criminal system after the higher racist citizen. This research compared recidivism race of 2700 juvenile offenders in Florida with a mass sample. Juveniles raised those more likely to be incarcerated for longer than those who remain in the juvenile system. They also had a higher recidivism rate of more likely to commit subsequent offenses and commit more serious subsequent offenses. The juveniles became the juvenile system. This is going to outweigh magnitude because not only are we going to act racistly against them, but because we're going to make people believe that they are correct in thinking racistly because they are going to commit more crime, which is going to endorse that their view of the black as someone who is violent is actually going to be correct. Additionally, it's going to outweigh magnitude as well because it's going to harm innocent people. It's going to be a greater violation of denying someone's equality because at least the criminals will maximize causing some harm to other people. But when we harm someone who is innocent through crime, we have not. All these arguments apply to contention as a whole. Additionally, you can turn the entirety of the contention. He's going to make it worse because in the adult criminal justice system we have an incentive to frame juveniles as super predators, even if there is some racism on behalf of police officers. And this status quo is going to be worse in the adult system because we're going to try to put them up as a sacrificial lamb under the guise of deterrence so that we can gain political capital and get into office. We're going to use the juveniles for our own benefit because the public wants to see them harmed violently. Additionally, you can turn this way. Juveniles are charged in the adult system. They're going to lose the right to vote because they're now a violent felon and they lose the civil rights associated with it. That is going to control the internal link to all of the other arguments he frames because at least if you can vote, you're able to consent. This is going to outweigh our scope because it means they can never consent to their political will being fulfilled in any policy, not just here. Additionally, it's going to be irreversible as that is always going to come before the others.
Alright. Let's talk about that. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the K. What's the alternative?
The alternative text is, thus I advocate we reject capitalism and maintain status quo juvenile policies rather than adopt the affirmative in pursuit of solving racial dilemmas.
Okay. Let's go through the specific links.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go through the links.
Okay. The first piece of evidence is Herod. Herod indicates that the rhetoric that these new social movements focus on, racism and other things, that is problematic is it requires a direct trade-off with capitalism. I.e., your insistence in cross-examination that racism is the only thing that matters as per the affirmative standard. That racism is so bad.
How is that link unique to the AF case at all? He will say there's social issues matter.
First, it's a discursive link, right? So even if other people say it, that doesn't deny that it's bad that you say it. Second, the Hill evidence indicates that the language shapes reality. So even if other people say it,
so you have to win language shapes reality to win.
No, absolutely not. I'm on second. I could probably articulate 5 or 6 reasons why it's so relevant as per Herod's framing of the argument. You cut me off on the second of the list.
Right. Let's keep going down. Next card.
Okay. Next card?
Yeah.
Sure. The next card is the Taylor evidence. Taylor indicates that the only way that we can ever solve racism is through this focus on capitalism, i.e., your author, who's difficult to pronounce, claims to have some account of how race relations comes about that isn't really warranted or justified, but I actually cite historians who describe the socioeconomic features in certain societies and how capitalism caused the origination of racism and how capitalism makes it such that you can never overcome racism as long as capitalism is going to exist.
All right, what's the next card?
The next piece of evidence is Hart.
Yeah.
Hart indicates that making specific demands on state policy re-entrenches the problem because it allows those in power to make it look like democracy is functioning, i.e. we have a protest and people complain about the lack of black representation and look, people are out there, but that the government continues to ignore the rights of the black population justifies it because that is what the populace wants. That when you place these demands on the state, instead of taking it upon yourself as an advocate in some fashion, that you are making the harm worse. It gives multiple empirical examples, specifically with the issues of race too.
Past a post-fiat impact calculus, are there any like pre-fiat reasons to negate because of the K?
What do you mean by pre-fiat?
Are there any
post-fiat? I honestly think in debate that conflation makes very little sense. I say that the discursive impacts come first. Okay. You're welcome to answer that and say no, post-fiat comes first. You're welcome to turn it, deny
the discursive impacts are only solved through the alternative, right?
Not necessarily.
How would they be solved?
Because, for example, Hart indicates that there's a unique harm to a call for action. So, first, the alternative is basically status quo minus the discourse, right, on a policy implementable level. But second, there are reasons why your specific discourse and calling for something is bad, even if the alternative wouldn't necessarily solve it. Because I would fail to solve while you worsen.
Can I just see the discourse comes first, though?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I actually have. This is not exactly what I read, but it's.
Yeah, I just need discourse comes first.
Okay, sure. It's not exactly the same version I read, so I'll give this to you. Okay. Yeah. So it starts at and at the top of the page, and
starting at the very top of the AC. Exhibit number 2, the negative must fit the status quo juvenile system as a whole. It's only textual interpretation of the resolution used the phrase in the United States meaning the question of the existing United States, not any other interpretations of the textual, because no other system used throughout the United States ever since the status quo. Always of these text resolutions, the only thing we have coming into the round. This is going to be reading reject K, because his alternative is specifically reject capitalism and do status quo system. So my argument specifically is that he can only advocate the status quo system. He cannot advocate anything else. So he needs to be at least interacting these arguments at the one end as to why he does not meet the text resolution. That's going to be the first reason the K is going to go away. But then go to the Cicerella-Meyer argument of Cicerella-Meyer. He says that there's no warrant for why racism is the worst. There's no warrant for why racism is the worst possible harm. You can read in the Cicerella-Meyer that politics are rendered literally impossible. I don't see how that does not mean it's the worst possible harm in terms of morality, because even the fundamental barrier to interracial recognition of the racial subjects, like the ontological resistance to the eyes of the white man, the black subject seen is not human because they see the hell show not being this otherness that exists because of racism renders politics impossible. Because the same applies for ethics and damnation of the black lives and eyes of irrelevant. The self-other dialogue of the race situation leads to the eradication of ethical relations. And this does not mean that it is the most important impact in terms of what ethics is, that I don't know what it means. That's going to be an easy reason why I get my warrant around. He said I had to point out a specific warrant and only begs the question, but that is not begging the question at all. It is saying that ethics are rendered literally impossible, so you're giving me the benefit of the doubt. That means racism is always going to come first to his impact, so the K impacts do not matter on another level. Then go to the offense on case. He says that the adult system's always going to be. He says the adult system's always going to be more punitive, but that does not address the argument that's not going to be addressed. The argument that's going to be easily outweighed by the offense in case. But then his number 2 is that it leads to higher rate of recidivism. But you get to the argument under Cicerella-Meyer that he must be specifically impacting back to racism. That if it's not a link of omission, it's not a link of commission. His impacts must link specifically to the acts of racism, or he will not get an impact back to the standard. This argument is not specifically about how he's going to be solving just racism. It's about crime as well. That's going to be reason it's not going to link more of this. It's going to be reason why the K goes away, because the K is not talking about racism in general. It's also talking about other hierarchical impacts. That's going to be the impacts can go away. Go to the last 2 arguments on the case. The first argument says it's going to lead to super predators. So one, I would say there's no warrant for this argument. Each says it's going to lead to super predators. But secondly, I'd say this is not true in the status quo. These super predator policies only existed in the 1990s. The policies, obviously, the policies for super predators are obviously different right now. More of this was not interactive back in specifically to how racism impacts the argument. Not going to matter. Then he turns because he says lose the right to vote. However, the affirmative advocacy only transfer valid juveniles. They constitute a ridiculously small percent of the population, meaning their impact of disenfranchisement is negligent. Only 3% of the juvenile hearings are valid offenders mentioned, right? Only 3% of the cases heard in the juvenile court are valid offenses. Therefore, the loss of power is not unique or best instituted to count whether the impacts coming out of the AC. But second, it's going to be not unique as far as all felons in the adult court system have disenfranchisement, meaning that this power is loss of rights inherent in both worlds. All the affirmative impacts are unique to claims of racism only occurring in the negative world, meaning for my impacts of disenfranchisement and their impacts lead to a greater decrease in the opportunities of racism. Then, it's my offense. That's Steckler. That's all. That's Steckler evidence is very specific on the fact that the automatic transfer process that's going to happen when we affirm the resolutions is necessary to end racism, because the judge can choose when or when not, or when not to transfer people. That's based on racist policy. Then is the use of the impact that's unique to racism in 2 distinct. Sorry, that was the second. That was the contention 2 argument. My bad. That's a distinct to racism because the juvenile justice system leads to power of individuals and leading unchecked jurisdiction over the juvenile detention procedure, and the only ones all checked to racism faith. This is going to be a reason that's going to outweigh any tax action on the racist because it's the only argument labeled specifically to racism. We go to the K. We go to the all. And go to the link, sorry. First, the links are not unique insofar as in both worlds there will always be conceptions of what impacts going forward, what worse impacts are going to happen, but then go to the impact section. I would say that if he's trying to play the game of all impacts impacting back to race and capitalism, that capitalism is actually going to be a good thing. Then is key to solving disease in the private sector, KO Institute, right? Without capitalism or lower profit, we couldn't imagine everyone would be able to be cured of diseases. Far fewer would now be the case. Wealthy people in the West demand problems. They could be seeing research eventually solve the problems. Capitalism is coming to economic systems develop vaccines. That's going to be the reason why I'm going to be able to solve disease in the world, which is obviously going to be an impact, which is going to be able to impact. So if he extends the crime office, that's going to be the reason why capitalism is always going to be a good thing. Then go to the alternative. Say one, you can perm the alternative, do both. This puts him in a double bind. Either A, the alternative is going to be strong enough where it's going to be able to solve all the dissads to the it's going to be solve all the dissads to the perm, or B, the alternative is not good enough, it will not be able to solve.
I have 3 of 4 remaining. What offense do you extend at the affirmative case?
Stucco.
Stucco.
Yes.
Okay. Could you pass me stucco?
Yes. No, you don't. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, you can stop reference.
Yeah.
Trying to find the fix.
Okay, cool. So this says 246, but it's 34. What's the implication of the argument at the top of the NC about I have to defend the juvenile system? You reject the K?
Yes.
So it's not a voter?
No, yeah, it's a research.
Okay, cool. Each instance, okay?
Yeah.
Everyone right? Hamilton makes a big mistake by undercovering the analysis I'm giving on the affirmative case. I'm doing impact analysis in the 1 and C. Do not let me get up and do new weighing in the 2AR, even if you think that 2AR weighing is usually legitimate. If I'm extending cold conceded weighing out of that first negative construct, you should not be giving him lenience on these arguments. The problem is he undercovers the offense on the affirmative case and then tries to go for the criticism. But there are 3 reasons the criticism is not going to matter. The first is the argument at the top of the affirmative case that you can reject the criticism. He says I can only defend the juvenile justice system, that I cannot defend anything about rejecting capitalism, even if capitalism is going to be key to disease or something. There's no reason why that's going to be relevant in the round, because my advocacy does not entail anything about this. This is not about conditionality. I'm not doing anything illegitimate here. It didn't ask me about the status. Rather, I'm accepting an argument that you reject the criticism. Additionally, the offense that you generally saw the K about capitalism being key to solving disease is not going to be relevant, because I will concede the AC ethical framework that racism is the only thing that matters. I will concede that racism is the most important thing in the round. That means that disease does not have an internal link back to racism. He does not articulate that either way. There's no reason why I would violate disease. Additionally, the third reason why, even if you think cap is key to disease is not going to be relevant, is you can extend the perm on the criticism. This means that he is not going to get offense off the disease here either, because either perm do both means that he is able to sufficiently solve and overthrow racism, in which overthrow capitalism, in which case he triggers that he's going to be causing the destruction of vaccines as well, or the other the branch of the double blind is that the K is not strong enough to solve, which means that I am not actually going to be overthrowing capitalism enough to mean that we aren't going to be able to solve disease anyway. That means the disease impact is not relevant. The only relevant issue at this point in the round is a comparison between the impact analysis that I'm giving you in the NC that's cold conceded versus a blippy extension of Steckler off the affirmative case that he is not doing weighing analysis on. The first place where you're going to negate in this round is the PBS analysis. Hamilton makes one response here. He says that I need to have specific links to racism. He is correct that the PBS evidence does not specifically say the word racism, but I give you 3 pieces of impact analysis and weighing beneath about why it's going to link to racism. You can extend the first one specifically, that the reason why treating juveniles as adults is going to be bad is it leads to an increase in crime. This is going to be worse than the racism impacts coming out of the affirmative case because we actually make them into the violent animal that they believe the African American to be. My argument is that this is going to be a worse form of racism because while his argument is that they might have unchecked jurisdiction and be able to do anything, my argument is that this is not only going to allow for them to do anything because it says that they are going to see them as a violent beast, but they actually do awful things. Is there going to be a more specific physical implication because it's not just about the ability to do specific things, but rather instances of social control in the affirmative system because they're always going to be in contact with the state. Additionally, I make the analysis that this argument is going to control the internal link to the argument that he is talking about because the police argument talks about the perception of the youth and other things. My argument is that if you treat juveniles as adults, it leads to an increase in violent crime, as you can see out of the PBS analysis. That is explicit in his evidence that this is going to lead to the perception that juveniles are going to be violent, particularly African American ones, because it's leading to an increase. Do not make any new arguments on these on this in the new 2A. Do not make new cross applications either. I cannot predict every single argument that he makes. All you can go off is conceded impact analysis. But even if you don't buy that, and you think that the qualitative harm of racism from PBS versus the Scheckler or whatever the author's name is, evidence is going to be equal, I give you an additional tiebreaker that he concedes, where the additional piece of weighing analysis is that the harms in the PBS evidence are going to affect innocent people as well, because they are going to be harmed by the crime, whereas the police perception that juveniles is only going to be racism against the criminal itself. Even if it sounds repugnant, I understand that racism is bad, but it's going to be much worse when racism is perpetrated against innocent people and they die as a result of racism and crime because they have not criminally willed to maximum and cause some harm to people. At least the people in the juvenile system have committed a crime on some level because that is why they're in the system, or at least there's reasonable suspicion that they have committed a crime. But this analysis is cold conceded that this would be the tiebreaker if you even think that PBS functions on the same level as Scheckler. But it doesn't. He's conceding impact analysis why PBS is much, much worse. But at this point, the second reason that you're going to prefer my analysis over Stepler is the voting rights argument. He has a few arguments, each of which misses the point. His first argument is that juveniles charged with violent felonies is a very small amount of the population. It's something like 3% as evidence says. This is going to be another reason to prefer PBS because all it says is that few juveniles are going to be treated as adults. If that's true, then the racism impacts that he's defining out of the juvenile system are going to be really small as well because his way of solving it is to try them as adults. That he claims to solve. That means that even if he's going to be able to put them in the adult system and solve them back, it's only going to happen to 3% of the juveniles, whereas my evidence is much better on this question and indicates that there's going to be an increase in crime that affects the entire scope of society. This argument actually suggests another reason to prioritize PBS over his evidence, but additionally his argument have very few effective is just false. He says that both juveniles and adults are going to be disenfranchised, so it's not unique, but there's no reason why an increase in racism makes it not unique. There's nothing in the affirmative case about arbitrariness that talks about treating juveniles and adults the same, rather it's about decreasing the amount of racism. If something racist is happening to adults, we should not have it happen to juveniles. We wouldn't be racist to both because that contradicts what he says. It would make politics impossible as per his framing. That means that even if adults are going to be disenfranchised as well, that's not going to be a reason to discount my argument. Additionally, my argument is that this is going to be worse when you exclude juveniles because juveniles have never been able to consent because they are younger, they've never gone to vote in the first place because they're under the age of 18. At least an adult has already turned 18 and had an opportunity to vote or express their political views to somebody, but it's going to be uniquely bad for juveniles because they never got to consent. I give you impact analysis that says that this is going to outweigh on scope because they're going to be treated racistly in every instance. They can never consent to the law on any level, so the government is never going to be treating them as human. The government can never actually look at their wills and respect their human will to determine for themselves what they want. This is going to be worse than Scheckler evidence because Scheckler only indicates that it's going to happen with a police officer. My argument is that once you lose the right to vote, it's going to happen in literally every single instance. Additionally, his argument that this happens in the juvenile system too is just false. There's a reason why as a felon disenfranchisement, you're not convicted of a felony in the juvenile system. It's called a delinquency. I have specific evidence I can show you on this question, John. If you're concerned at all, you do not lose the right to vote when you're treated in the juvenile system. That's just false. But additionally, my argument is also that voting would control the internal, voting is going to be a more important impact than the police argument that he's talking about as well because the impact of the perception of police at least ends once you're out of the system, but voting carries on forever. I see it as irreversible, which means that if there's any doubt on this question, you should at least err my way because you can always correct his problem after the fact, but once my problem occurs, you can never ever correct it. So if you're confused at all, which you should not be, it's a very clear neck ballot, you still default there. Yeah.
Sweet. 30 seconds left. What's that? Your computer's left.
Oh, really? I have a copy on paper.
Yeah,
there it is.
All right, sweet. Starting now. Okay. So we are going to go on the 3 arguments he made for why the K goes away. Then we're going to go on the K. All right. His biggest mistake in the last speech is conceding the perm and not contesting the fact that the perm can possibly be an advocacy for the affirmative debater. He does not make any arguments for why the perm is a test of competition or why anything else. The perm is an advocacy. It's labeled in the 1AR. So if I extend the perm, that's going to be the reason why I solve for all the links. His 3 arguments for why the K goes away. The first is that I extend the textuality argument. 1, I would say this argument is only specific for why the negative does not mean the text of the resolution. That's not going to be reason. That's going to be reason you reject this argument if that's the reason it's true. But secondly, the reason this textuality argument does not matter because I control the link now. And I'm not extending this argument for him. I'm not extending the argument for him in this speech because I control the link to all portions of the advocacy for the case. It's my advocacy now, and I'm not extending the textuality argument, which is mine to begin with. That's the reason to do that. But thirdly, this is the most important and literally the most true reason is that I meet the text of the resolution because the perm still treats people in the adult system. We still transfer people. We just do both. We treat people in the adult system and do the root cause of capitalism. So that's going to be the reason why I still meet the text of the resolution. The only reason to reject the only reason to reject it was based on the text of the resolution, but I meet the text of the resolution. Number 2 is that he concedes the AC ethical framework. But if I extend reasons why the K impacts back to the AC ethical framework and solves the AC ethical framework, that's going to be a reason you're going to vote for me. Then extend the number 3 for it. Extend the perm. The perm is an advocacy. Perm, do both, do the AC, and the critique alternative. This is going to be a reason why I'm going to be winning the round when I re-extend for him the reasons why the K's when I extend the reasons for him why it's going to be key to ending racism. You can see the best evidence, specifically like the best evidence for him. This says the domination for capitalism is very specific to the way it's very specific to every impact that is talked about solving the first tier hierarchy because it talks about how the human domination of animals was based off capitalism. That it was the first part of capitalism. That's going to be a reason why it's solving the root cause. Moreover, you can extend the mouse evidence above it that says that it turns the case insofar as the impacts of capitalism are going to be way worse. It's actually going to be solving racism because that's going to be reasons why capitalism is going to be the alternative is going to be able to solve the impacts are going to be able to solve back the arguments for racism. And he specifically labeled all these impacts as reasons why A, it turns the case, and B, it solves for these argumentations. So if I win the alternative becomes if I win that the perm is net beneficial, then you easily vote for me. So you can re-extend the perm on the alternative that you're going to do both. That is going to solve the impact. But even if you are not buying that, even if I do not win any of the links to the case, the net benefit to the perm is going to be the Hill evidence. The Hill evidence says that the impacts that are specifically talked about the K are always going to come first because the discursive impacts of the critique. However, he never extends any reasons why the discursive impacts will not be solved by the alternative. He does not have the alternative. The ASA point of the argument is very specific. The double line is very specific to how the perm would be able to solve the negative impacts of the perm and only would be able to solve all disadvantages to the perm. So the perm would only be beneficial. So here's how the round breaks down. This is really clear. I am meeting the text of the resolution. The AC ethical framework might come first, but I'm conceding arguments on the K as to why the K and his impacts solve all of racism. And the perm is an advocacy. I advocate that we do the AF and the K. This round is really clear. You vote for the perm. It solves all this offense.
Good round.